Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Charlie Tavey. I am the COO here at UnCollege. We are really excited to try out this Facebook Live today. We've been working all day to see how it's going to work, and while it's dropped a couple of times, we've now got it up and running. But if it does drop at any point during our live stream today, just bear with us. We've gotten pretty fast at being able to get it back up and running within 30 seconds to a minute. So, all right, here we go. For those of you that are joining us today, thank you so much. I think that a lot of you already know a little bit about UnCollege, but I thought it would be really beneficial for us to go over what it is that we actually do, and then you'll be able to hear from some of our program specialists and some of our fellows, so you can get an inside scoop into what it's really like to be here at UnCollege with us and go through our program. So I just want to start off and kind of read what our vision statement is. We are really aiming to help young adults pursue their interests proactively through learning relevant skills and gaining new experiences. And I know that that sounds really buzzwordy, and when we were writing it, we were really trying to be as authentic as possible as we were going through the process. So it'll be really beneficial for us today to hear from the coaches and from the students so they can really give you a sense of what that actually means to them on a day-to-day basis. First, I just want to start off in kind of how this entire organization started. It didn't start off as our Gap Year program. It started out more as a movement. Our founder, Dale Stevens, who you can't see quite in frame right now, but he's here in the room with us today. He went to university for a semester, and he decided after that college just really wasn't the right step for him. So he decided to explore what it would be like to create his own educational path. And what he did was he created a whole bunch of resources to allow himself to do that, and then he made all of these resources available to other people so they could do it as well. So what we really learned from that was that people really have an urge to go after something in their life that they're truly passionate about and create a curriculum for themselves that allows them to succeed in some type of way. So Dale actually put all those resources online, and shameless plug, we have all of those for you. If you go to www.uncollege.org, you can see all of them there. As Dale was doing this, he realized that there was a real demand for people wanting a little bit more structure and a little bit more discipline to what those free resources really provided. And that's really how the Gap Year program was born. And starting off, Dale had a very small cohort of students who we call fellows who came to San Francisco, and he started this program where they lived together and figured out what it is they really wanted to do after high school before they either entered university or didn't enter university. So I think that before we get started really on that, we're going to go and talk to some of our program specialists, and we're going to talk to some of our fellows, and they're going to tell you a little bit about their background. So I thought it would be beneficial for me to speak a little bit about my background. After I went to university, I graduated with a degree in accounting and a double minor in mathematical sciences and Asian studies. And I think that I really saw college as an insurance policy for me to get a job after I graduated. And after graduation came and went, I did not have a job. I wanted to work at a Big Four accounting firm, and that didn't work out for me exactly the way I planned. I got 2 rejection letters, and I was crushed, and a lot of my friends were going on to work in different areas, whether that was in the accounting world, in the finance world. Some of them were going to be teachers, some of them were going to medical school, and I felt completely lost. I had no idea what to do, and I thought that after going through college for 4 years, it would have been something that I would have had the answer to, and I didn't. So what I did was I went over to Beijing, China, and I decided to take an intensive Mandarin language course. And after that, I decided that I was going to teach English and figure it out. And it was only after a couple of months that I started managing schools while I was in China. And I learned that, learning Mandarin for me was something that I had always wanted to do since I was young. And being able to put that to practice immediately and setting up my own curriculum for that really helped me achieve that very, very quickly. And that was really through immersion and not really in the classroom. And then from there, I actually came back to the Bay Area, and I started working at an entrepreneurship boot camp. And it was there that I watched these entrepreneurs who were really passionate about different areas that they wanted to pursue in creating their own companies. Now that looking back, because hindsight is always 20/20, I really see that this is definitely the difference in what I notice in education today and why I subscribe to one of those methods over the other. So when I was in China, I saw that a lot of my students were memorizing everything that they were studying. And the realization that I came to was that memorizing words, memorizing texts, it really leads to you going on autopilot. And when you go on autopilot, you just really don't get as much as you can out of an experience. And then when I went to Silicon Valley, I wound up being able to go see that people who actually are engaged and working on what they're doing constantly, they actually are learning way more than you would imagine. And that's what really led me to UnCollege. As soon as I read about UnCollege and I met Dale, I realized that this was a movement that I really want to be a part of. And I'm really excited to be here today. And we have all of our fellows who are actually in this current cohort. There's 17 of them. They're all working on totally different things. And today they're actually in a work sprint behind me. Some of them are actually in the room. We have some of them are coding right now. The young woman who's standing up is working on a huge art project. And during this work sprint, they really have 36 hours where they're able to work on whatever it is they want to work on. So I'm excited that you're going to be able to hear a little bit from our coaches on what the structure of our program looks like, and from some of our fellows to what their experiences have been so far. So before we get into that, I kind of want to take you through what this gap year has really evolved into. And UnCollege, as a program now, we have the Gap Year Program, which is a 9-month program which is built into 3 phases. So the first phase is abroad, and we call that phase Voyage. The second phase is Launch, and that's when our fellows are here in San Francisco. And the third phase is Internship, and they could be anywhere in the world. Our fellows could be anywhere in the world when they're in their internship phase. So just to start off, we're going to focus a lot today on Launch, but before that, I want to touch on Voyage. We had a question about what preparation really looks like for that phase and what students are really achieving while they're there. Voyage has really evolved a lot since we first started UnCollege and the Gap Year Program. And in the beginning, we allowed fellows to really go and self-direct their own learning all around the world, wherever it is that they want it to be. Today, we have a much more disciplined approach where we have different areas that we allow our fellows to go to, and we have programs that are built out in those areas. So right now, we're sending fellows to Mexico, Brazil, and Bali, and we are looking by the end of this year to add more locations to support them. Now, while the students are abroad, they are working with their coaches who they're assigned to on day one, and they are doing a service learning project. And that could be anything from volunteering in an English school to working on a farm. And that's for several hours a day. And then on top of that, they're working on whatever it is that they're really passionate about. And this is something that they start to work on and start to reflect on while they're in their voyage phase, so that by the time they get to launch, they can really put all of that knowledge that they've created to use, and on top of a lot of the soft skills that we teach, get them ready for whatever it is they've been exploring for their internship phase. So that's really a really high-level overview of Voyage, and if anybody has any questions on that, feel free to write them into the comments box on Facebook, and we'll definitely get back to you. We just hired a head of international programs, and if you leave your email address, she can definitely give you more information about that, or you can, of course, go to our website and take a look at some of the offerings that we have and what's included. So I'm going to invite our program specialists on now to kind of give us an overview of what our middle phase looks like. But before I do that, we said that we were going to do a few giveaways today, and our first giveaway is going to Anmal. So congratulations, Amal. We are going to send you over an UnCollege t-shirt. Amal, you asked what has changed in UnCollege's curriculum in the past 2 years, since the past 2 years. So Amal was actually one of our first fellows. Amal, a lot has changed. So when you were here, I know that all of the fellows lived in a house. Now all of our fellows live in a dormitory with other students from different programs in the Bay Area. Our curriculum has evolved a little bit. We still have workshops that the students go to every single day. But we also have different events like these work sprints that we've added in. All of the fellows also have to do capstone presentations at the end of the launch phase. And we also are now doing a lot more with some of the common workspaces that we share with the gigantic workspace that we are now housed in. So I know that this room looks a little different from what you were used to when you were the first cohort in UnCollege. We operated out of the house that you guys lived in, and now we have a dedicated co-working space where we sit with over 30 companies, and the fellows are able to find professional development from all of those mentors that are within this ecosystem, go to all of the events that are hosted, and they have this beautiful space to work out of 24/7. So those are just some of the perks that we now have, which has been really awesome. So I'm on look out for a t-shirt that's coming your way. All right, so to get started, just a few people that we're going to introduce today. I'm going to invite our 3 program specialists. And at any time, if you have any questions, please feel free to go to our Facebook page and write whatever your questions are in the comments. We're going to try and get them in as many as we can, but we'll also save time at the end if anybody has any extra questions. So I'm going to invite the program specialist. I'm going to slide over here and we'll get going.
Woo. All right. Jump first then. Hey everyone. Hello. Hello world.
How we doing? Red, yellow, green?
Oh wow, we're doing that.
Oh, we're doing
that.
I'll
start out and I'll go green.
I'm also feeling green. So this is a exercise or a
I don't even think we should explain it.
No, green. Figure it out. Self-directed learning.
I'm green.
Green. All right.
How are you?
I'm a high green. Doing really good.
All of a sudden became competition.
Yeah, there we go. So thanks guys. I think to start off, why don't you guys just introduce yourselves and tell me why you decided to join UnCollege?
Go ahead.
My name is John Gordon. I've been with UnCollege for about 2 years now. I'll be honest, I found UnCollege through pure dumb luck. I was working for an organization before where I would travel around and lead workshops on social emotional learning and anti-bullying, anti-oppression, and self-esteem building, etc. And I also, at that time, my wife was pregnant, and so I was scrambling and trying to figure out what was going to bring me a little bit of a cool paycheck and hopefully not have me hate my life while allowing me to come home. And I was, at that time, asked to do a consulting gig that turned out to be this really cool organization that had some people who were doing self-directed learning, and the curriculum was incredible. And I remember leaving that weekend being like, wow, that's a really great thing. And from there, I got a phone call from Dale essentially saying, hey, you have a baby. You curious about us? And from there, it kind of, things aligned nicely. And it's been a pretty incredible ride.
Cool. I'm Gabe, and what was the question? Why did I join?
Yeah, why did you join UnCollege? And just see that little green guy at the corner of the screen? Let's make sure that he stays as high as possible.
Got it.
We'll try not to scream at you.
Things are falling off the rails.
I have been with UnCollege for about 2.5 years. I was someone who went through college without really thinking about the why behind it, and very much sort of did it because it was the next step. And there were things that I really loved about college. And at the same time, about halfway through, I started to realize, the way that just sort of going without thinking or really understanding the why or, what my motivation was, really affected my path. And so I, through that, became interested in alternative education and did a lot of reading about different models and was most drawn to the sort of self-directed learning, curiosity-driven educational model. So that's something that had just been an interest of mine and something that I continued to read a lot about after college. And I had a handful of different jobs working at startups and eventually running my own business for a bit. And while I was running my own business, a mutual friend of mine, Dale's, introduced the two of us, and we got to talking, and I joined the crew right before the first cohort came in. And I think the big motivation for me in joining UnCollege was, I think I'm really attracted to the idea of getting to spend a year of education just focused on whatever is exciting. So, rather than here's the curriculum that you have to take, it's math, sciences, liberal arts, it's just, what are you psyched about? What makes you come alive? What do you think is really rad? And how can we build out an entire year of education around that?
Cool. So hey, my name is Everett, and I'm a coach here as well. So just out of respect of time, my answer is the exact same as John's, except for the baby part. So I used to work at the same place as him, And so there was a point where I really wanted a career change. I also didn't want to travel. And then I met the team here at UnCollege, and once I met everyone, I knew that everyone was incredibly smart, creative, they laugh a lot, they work really hard, and this is a gap year program that nothing else exists like this. It's truly a unique experience, so it was a no-brainer. I had to sign on, so that's my story.
Awesome. So I want everybody to be able to kind of get a little insight into how our program works, especially the launch phase. So you guys know, the launch phase is structured in a very simple way. It's really broken down into 3 parts. So we have coaching, we have workshops, and we have Friday reviews. So I want to be able to go through all those phases. So maybe, Gabe, if you could start on the coaching side and just kind of let everybody know, what is coaching, how often does it happen, what do you do in a normal coaching session, and like how do the fellows respond to that?
Yeah. Coaching is the backbone of the program. It happens throughout the 3 phases. In the voyage phase, coaching happens bi-weekly, and the format is really about reflecting on the experience, thinking about what it's like to be in another country, having some inquiry or guiding inquiry into cultural differences, and also some self-exploration. And then when we move into launch phase, the coaching gets much more goal-oriented, and we meet with fellows each week. And the sort of arc of coaching over the launch phase is in the first coaching meeting, coach will meet with their fellow and think about what are the goals for their program. What do they want to get out of the year? What do they want to get out of the launch phase? So we'll do a lot of thinking about long-term objectives and goals, and then from there it turns into really how to break those long-term goals into lots of manageable parts. And we'll meet with them every week and set goals to sort of move them along that dial to make meaningful steps towards the long-term goals. Then in internship, the coaching is much more about how to get the most out of an internship, how to take on responsibility in areas that are going to help you grow, how to get to learn things within your internship, and how to exceed expectations and really leave with a great recommendation.
Awesome. So on top of that, I'm going to throw it to Ev now. Ev, we have our 3 pillars at UnCollege. Mm-hmm. So curiosity, creation, and self-advocacy. And we have baked those into every single workshop. So all of our fellows go through workshops 4 days a week, Tuesday through Friday, for 2 hours each. So can you talk to us about what a typical workshop looks like, and are workshops like regular school? Is this a model where the teacher is kind of talking to the students? Are you guys talking with the fellows? And are you learning about things like, the Civil War, or what are you learning? What does a typical workshop look like? How does that day look?
Tell them about tests.
Yeah, about half of our workshops focus on the Civil War, I would say. I'm kidding. Just like Charlie said, our 3 main pillars are curiosity, creativity, and self-advocacy. And what we pride ourselves in is, I'm proud to say that our workshops focus on topics that are not really focused on in traditional academic institutions. So I would say some of our top workshops are, titled Getting Things Done, how to build a personal CRM, how to get your personal finances in order, rejection therapy, how to deal with that, and how that can help you out in the future, how to advocate for yourself, how to be an engaging public speaker. So these, you can call them soft skills, you can call it whatever you want, but what we know is that these are essential skills for you to be able to really take your professional and personal career to a completely different level. So each workshop is 2 hours. It's going to be Tuesday through Friday, and they're usually facilitated by one of us, myself, Gabe, or John, and also Charlie does a couple workshops as well. And sometimes we have guest speakers, so there could be a topic such as negotiation where we can easily teach that workshop, but we also know people that are better at that than us. So we have a number of people that are guests that come and facilitate these workshops. And another thing is that, we don't believe in standing in front of you and talking for 2 hours straight. We really believe in making them as engaging as possible. Because of self-directed learning, we know that the way that people learn most effectively is by you participating in the material and not listening to it. So we give you exercises, and I would say that we try to make every single workshop where more than half of it is actual exercises, and the smaller part of it is lecture. So workshops are really, really, this is one of the main staples of the program as well.
And something that's really interesting about our workshops is the coaches will go out, whoever is teaching this workshop, after every single workshop, they will ask the fellows what they thought of the workshop in a very Uber-like rating. They'll ask what they really liked about it, how they think they can improve. And if a coach has a workshop the next day, they implement all of that feedback. So we also are taking into account what is it that our fellows really want to learn. Do they think that the Civil War is interesting? Should we be teaching that? Or do they want to learn about personal finance? And if they say, wow, I really liked this personal finance workshop, I wish that you would have been able to spend a little bit more time on X, then we're able to go through, the coach is able to reach out to that person one-on-one and say, hey, here are some extra resources if you need them. So that's something that's also really cool about our curriculum. It's evolving all the time. Sometimes it evolves the night before, where coaches are really, taking in all of the feedback that they got on Tuesday and being able to implement it by Wednesday. So on top of the workshops that we have day to day, we also have, I think you can call it workshop 2.0, something like that. We have one workshop a week for 2 hours where we really, that we call Friday Review. And I'm going to let John kind of go into what Friday Review really means.
Cool. I love Friday reviews. That's why he's giving it to me. So there's a lot of research now that has actually come out that kind of, in my opinion, backs up common sense. And it all kind of stems from the fact that we as people learn better if we feel safe. And in order to feel safe, there has to be kind of some trust and connection. That's where Friday Review comes in. It essentially began from we have all these brilliant minds together. Let's use this common intelligence to kind of attack problems from a professional standpoint. And then it turned into being kind of organically, it shifted into something that is far more interpersonal. So this is what, as some of our fellows have called it, this is where kind of the family vibe of a cohort shows up. This is where people get to understand who they are. This is where they get to understand who the people around them are. And it sounds, as I'm describing it, I'm hearing myself, and it sounds a little bit like woo-woo, and that's not what it is. This last time, something that's integral in forming the groups is actually being able to laugh together and have some fun. This last time we had a full-on trivia thing where we got in trouble because we were being so loud. We have gone outside and done some incredible games outside. We sometimes get into a little bit, we explore the power of vulnerability. We talk about learning styles, we talk about leadership styles, we talk about preferences and those ends and how we want to give and receive feedback. All of that stuff becomes integral into the learning style, not only for what you're going to be doing within whatever it is that you're passionate about within the program, but from what we've heard from past fellows is this is the stuff that they take with them that helps them in life. Regardless of what path they choose, these are the things that are going to help them get ahead. And to be honest, this is the stuff that is not happening in any other program.
Awesome, thanks. So we want to be able to leave a little bit of time for our fellows as well, but before I kick you guys out, I want to know, in one line, what is the goal of the launch phase? And while they're thinking about that, I am going to announce our second winner. So, Jacob Cameron, thanks so much.
Jacob!
You asked, what are your, if any, for influencing the public education system? Do we have any plans for that? So Jacob is going to win our Dale's book, our founder, Hacking Your Education. Before I answer that question, have we thought?
Get a better sense of yourself and how you want to impact the world. There was a comment there. So there.
I've got a little run-on sentence. Mine has some semicolons. To improve in our 3 pillars: curiosity, creation, self-advocacy, and specifically to become empowered to take on projects and learn in depth about something that you are excited about.
Mine is pretty simple. I want people to come out of the launch phase a completely different person than they came into it, having more skills and excitement about their future than they ever thought was possible.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
So quickly before we have our three fellows, Jacob. So I think our answer to that is we're really looking to start a movement right now. This isn't just about UnCollege. It's not about the Gap Year Program. What we want people to understand is education is supposed to be lifelong. It shouldn't be a chore that you have to go to school. We want people to understand that you should be empowered to create your own educational choices. So while we might not see us going after the public school system directly, we do think that this will inspire people that when they're at school to really take hold of the things that they find interesting and exploring those in 2.0 once they leave school. Ready?
Yeah, ready.
Cool. I'm going to slide this way. Okay, you want the middle.
Totally. Of course.
Hi,
Mom.
There we go.
I'd throw it in there.
Red, yellow, green.
Green.
Green,
I'm pretty solid green.
green, green. Awesome. All right, guys, so just to start off, how about you guys just go, we'll start this way. Your name, how old you are, where you're from, and why did you apply to UnCollege?
My name is Will Mabry. I'm from Oklahoma. I'm 18, just graduated high school, and I applied to UnCollege because I applied to like 7 schools and kind of came to realize that I didn't know why I was applying to those schools. I went to a college prep school, and so that was just like, I didn't even think about not going to college ever. I didn't realize that was even an option. And it came out about 2 weeks before I had to make a decision, and I was just like, yeah, I have way too many interests to go and spend $40,000 on college right now, so I'm in college.
My name is Drishti. I
So
was
just see that little green guy on the
yes,
Yes.
louder.
Yeah,
Okay.
like you, see? Okay. You might wanna.
My name is Drishti, and I was born in India. I grew up like some part of my life in India and some part of my life in the U.S. So I've had both experiences. And both places that I've lived in a pretty like academically competitive environment. I realized that most of my friends that were applying to college did not know why they actually wanted to go to school, or if they did know, they weren't actually choosing those majors. They were choosing a compromise, something that they'd make a lot of money with, and I didn't want to do that to myself. And my father used to work for PayPal, which he led me on to the concept of Peter Thiel, and I found UnCollege.
My name's Alex Weecrest. I'm from Monterey Bay. I'm not too far from here, and I'm 18 years old. I'm straight out of high school. I found UnCollege through so many searches of gap year programs on Google. That's basically like the way I did it. And like I knew that I didn't want to take the typical path. I didn't want to conform and go towards something that I knew that I didn't know what I wanted. That same with both of these people here, my fellows. And it just kind of goes with why spend money or why go into something that big and that like it's a serious decision to go to college. Why make that decision when you don't know what you want? It's like plain and simple, and I just didn't know what I wanted. And I've always kind of known about the Gap Year Program. I never knew like specifics about it until I found UnCollege. And it was a simple application, cool process, and now I'm here and I'm learning a lot. And I'm happy with the decision that I've made so far. So.
Cool. So I know that the coaches, they were just talking a lot about launch phase. So like I mentioned, the Gap Year Program is broken down into 3 phases. So voyage, launch, and internship. So I want to take a step back for a second, and I do want to highlight voyage. Alex, could you talk about, given just an overview, what is voyage, where did you go on your voyage, and what you learned from it?
So voyage is basically kind of UnCollege's way of pushing us outside of our comfort zone. I think the whole program overall is outside the comfort zone, but this is a big one where we kind of start off in a totally different environment, culture, like people. It's just the opposite side of the spectrum when it comes to that. And I went to Bali, Indonesia. There were 2 other locations. There's India and there was Mexico. I personally chose Bali because it's always been like a dream of mine to go. I surf, and that's a destined surf place, and beautiful people. It's so nice. It's so safe. It's like it hits all the markers, and it's super cheap too, which is really nice. And I've always wanted to go to Bali, but I think I've learned a lot just being away from home and living with different people. I think that in itself is huge, but being in a different country is you grow. You just grow. I mean, it's hard to explain really what happens besides you're in some different place, and it's like you're an alien to all these people and all this environment, and it just makes you grow personally. Not so much professionally. That's more it's on the launch phase part, but personally, I'm sure if you asked every fellow right now and previous fellows, that they would tell you that it was probably an extremely enlightening experience. That's my experience there.
Where did you guys go? Why don't you just say where you went in a quick
We went to
one-liner?
some place.
Cool. Like,
So
one-liner of what you got out of the experience.
Voyage was my way of thinking, like, your identity is so often combined with where you are in your environment, and taking yourself outside of that environment allows you to see what part of my identity doesn't change regardless of my environment. So that's something that's very central to you, and that helps you like be introspective and understand yourself. I also went to Bali, and I went there because India was too easy. I speak the language, and I did take some Spanish, so Mexico would also be a little bit familiar, and I really wanted to get out of my zone.
I think the voyage is great because going to a place like Bali, you learn that you can live without enough water sometimes and enough food and quality food and without cleanliness. It's just good to know that like if there's an apocalypse, like I'll be all right. I just think it's really, really empowering.
Cool. And now, so you guys all went on voyage for just about 3 months, and then you came over here to San Francisco. So I kind of want to go through that through your eyes for a bit. And so, Will, why don't you start off? I mean, you came here. What did you feel like when you first got here? Where I know that we sat down and we said, okay, you're gonna have your first coaching experience, face to face with your coach. We're gonna set goals for you. Where were you on day one? We're in the middle of week 6 now. Time is just flying by in this phase. But where were you when you started, and where are you right now? And what does that growth look like?
Okay, so the first day that we arrived, I felt really depressed, but that was mainly because of the lighting in our hotel. The walls are gray, the carpet is dark gray, and like the light is like only half working in my room. So I was just like kind of sitting in there just like, wow, this sucks. And of course there's nothing in the rooms. It's just blank beds and walls. But luckily, starting day 2, it just got exponentially better. And I had my first coaching session with my coach, John, who's awesome. And one of the things that he started out giving me was he's like, I want you to keep a time journal, so like literally document every minute of what you do every single day. And I don't have to keep doing that, but I have kept doing that because it really puts things in perspective. Like I'm working in video game design and development, and so whenever I see like my hours spent coding that week were only 10, and my hours spent hanging out with people was like 15, I'm like, I need to get my priorities straight. And so that really gave me a tangible way to measure my productivity. And honestly, I think one of the best things that has come from this is that I've always been interested in game design, but I've never really been comfortable calling myself a game designer. I think I've gained enough skills that I can feel comfortable introducing myself as a game designer, which is really cool for me and my goal. And I didn't really think it would happen this quickly, and it certainly wouldn't have happened if I had done UnCollege.
Cool. So now let's just go into that just a little bit. So you started to keep the time journal. What did coaching sessions look like for you? Like what kind of goals did you start to set for yourself? I know that the coaches were able to give a little bit of perspective to this, but what does it mean to set goals? Is this like I'm making my bed in the morning? Is this like I'm writing a novel? Like what does setting a goal really mean? How many of them do you set? And how does that help you get to where you want to go?
So I'm sure it varies from person to person, but for me in the beginning, the goals were a little bit more exploratory, I'd say, because I was like, okay, I want to work a little bit in like making music in Logic Pro, and I want to work a little bit in coding, a little bit in like watching these videos about game design and like writing. So I had a huge variety of interests, which is why I decided to take a gap year program in the first place. But as I've progressed, they've become more focused on technical skills, and they become a lot more difficult. Like in the beginning, it was something like spend 8 hours developing in Unity, which is a game engine, by watching tutorials. And now, last week, I completed a 20-hour goal in that. And so I think that they start out a little more exploratory, and over time, they become more focused as you figure out what you want to do. And I think that's a really helpful thing, because your coach definitely helps direct you and kind of give you a context for what you're doing. I think that's really important.
And like the time journal, are you able to then track your progress?
Yes, very, very well. I'm going to continue to set my goals in this fashion, like after I'm out of UnCollege, probably until I die. It's an amazing system.
So why don't you guys just quickly also just touch on some of the goals that you guys have had, and again, what you saw, like what did you look like at day 0 and what do you look like now that we're in the middle of week 6 here on college?
Okay, I'm actually right now in the middle of a pretty difficult challenge. It's 7 books in 7 days, and I'm supposed to read a book a day, but that's not something I would have approached earlier. I think it was week 3 where I got sort of an unpaid internship with this woman that I've really wanted to work with for a while, and it's a remote internship. So my goal started out being, as Will said, a lot more exploratory, because I wanted to get a name and a title for what it is I want to do. And with me, it was hard to find that because it's a pretty soft skill, or a list of soft skills that I want to learn. And so I'm still somewhat exploratory, but the way that I learn and how much I learn has changed a lot.
Cool.
So.
Yeah, I mean, for me, day 0 was much like these two, as well as almost everyone in the team, in the fellows or in the cohort. It was very exploratory. I didn't know what I wanted to do. It started off with video production. Now I'm all the way on to also marketing and whatnot, and now I'm on to coding. So it'll definitely change as it goes. I mean, I didn't start coding until like a week or 2 ago, so I'm still fairly new at what I'm doing, and I think that it's important to have that time to set goals for certain things like video production, and it was more of like, do I like this? I don't really know if I do, and then I started to move on to some more things, and the goals definitely were something that I have not looked at. I mean, you all know what goals are and like how they work, and like like it's good to set goals, but like once you start to do it, you really realize how effective it is.
Mm-hmm.
And,
I think one great point is that this environment is a great environment, especially it rolls in one way week by week. Low stakes, like chance for you to do trial and error. And if you want to try one thing one week, immerse yourself in it, like spend all of your time, you have that availability. And then you decide you don't like it, you also have the chance to move on to something new. Like, and nothing, super high is riding on it. The same way you would be trying to change a college major. Like, this is not that difficult. This is you choosing what you want to learn, and if you like it.
And if I could say one more thing, definitely one of the most beneficial things about Launch so far is finding a mentor. And I mean that has changed things for me in so many ways. Having somebody who has been in my industry for over a decade that can sort of direct me and keep me from having to subject myself to all the failures that most people have to. That's amazing, and that wouldn't have happened if it weren't for the people here and the connections that Dale and Charlie, the coaches, have.
Yeah, same for me. Just secured mine today. Shout out to Cole. You're probably not watching, but I got my mentor.
Yeah, shout out to Christine.
Super excited. Yeah.
Cool, and I know that, so yes, UnCollege, we do work very hard to get all of our fellows mentors as soon as possible, but I do have to also give credit to the fellows because they also are doing a lot of hustling to secure mentors for themselves that are on top of the mentors that we're providing, but also they're doing a lot of the hustle to get their internships, which is our last phase. And I know that you guys are now starting this process and it can be a little stressful, but maybe Drishti, why don't you talk about kind of the networking events that you started to go to and how, Drishti just last week, she gave a speech about something. So why don't you talk a little bit about that and what it means to, why do we promote you to get up and get out into the world and promote and be able to advocate for yourself? Why is that important?
Because failure is the best way to learn. That's the first and only way to state it. And I was freaking out about this talk that I was giving. So I initially thought that I wanted to be a subject matter expert and be someone who learns a whole lot about psychology and then helps people connect that and apply that into a business context or an educational context or a personal context. And this talk that I gave, it was a somewhat informal event, but it was a group of really intelligent people, and I had to know what the hell I was talking about. So I spent about a week preparing for it, and I also care a lot about the way that I speak. So I watched that, I rehearsed myself, I presented a couple times in front of people like my coach and Dale, who runs UnCollege. So it was a chance for me to try that out and realize that, yes, I really love that, but maybe I'm not so ready for it. What's the other part of the question?
Just about your internship. So kind of how has that, how has you going out and kind of getting the word out about what you do and what you want to do helped you secure an internship?
I kind of had this vision before I even got into the program. So like 3 months before, like right after I graduated high school, I started working and I started reaching out to people and cold calling, and I was like learning a lot from what resources UnCollege has for free on their website, as well as Joe's book. And I started talking to this woman when I was doing an informational interview. Her name's Michelle Jones. She runs an alternative education academy in Portland called Wayfinding. I wanted to, she'd been working in organizational psychology for the last 15 years, and I wanted to understand the industry better because it's very difficult to find stuff online. And she basically offered me an internship right there, and then like, for the internship phase, and we didn't solidify it, but she really liked who I was. She liked that I was taking initiative. She liked that I want to learn. And I got back in touch with her a couple weeks ago, and I said, hey, this is what I've learned up until now, throughout the program, and if this makes a difference. She was like, yeah, I already wanted you, but that just made it a whole lot better. So reaching out to people and not being afraid to get rejected is amazing. And whether or not you take part in UnCollege, it's something that you can learn from the resources.
Cool. Quickly, just a networking event that you guys have gone to, or maybe one of you can talk about going off of the rejection therapy that you thought, why is that important, and how does that help you then get to a networking event and get out there and get your name out there?
Yeah, so on the rejection therapy workshop day, one of the things that I did is I walked right into the Ubisoft headquarters and just asked if I could have an internship. And surprisingly enough, it was sort of a no, but not completely. The guy gave me a business card and wrote down a name on it and was like, call this guy. And I was like, that's something. And it's really hard to get an internship in the games industry, so that was really cool. So yeah.
Yeah, the rejection therapy workshop that we have is really cool and fun. It's good to get rejected. Plain and simple,
Awesome.
asking to make some coffee behind a coffee bar, simple stuff like that. But going off of networking events, gone to a few events on marketing, also a lot on coding here in Galvanize. There's so many buildings that you can go to, co-work spaces that cover a lot of these cool topics, and it's good to meet the people who are in the same field, just how they are, how they act, how they talk, just meeting new friends is cool in general, and I think that it's important, and securing internships is an important and hard part of this Gap Year program, but it's good and it's fun.
Yeah.
Do you want me to talk about the 1776 Challenge Cup event?
Sure, yeah, you can totally talk about it.
One of the really big events that happened that I went to that was amazing, I found a mentor there, kind of. So it was 1776's Challenge Cup. Basically, 34 startups were pitching to venture capitalists and people that would invest. And not only do you get to meet the people sitting next to you who are doing amazing things with their life, you also get to see people who are doing good. So 1776 is the company that owns our co-working space, as well as a couple others. And they sponsor companies to be within the co-working space that are doing amazing things, like education and healthcare and whatever. So watching those startups pitch was really valuable, and I got to be friends with the person that was there next to me, who was an entrepreneur herself.
There you go. This is a big part of UnCollege. I know Ev spoke a little bit about our 3 pillars. So everybody came in, the fellows come in with some kind of curiosity, and sometimes it's not laser focused. It's more like a flashlight just all over the wall. But they get to spend that time going over, what area do I really want to go into? And then they get to create things that are based off of that. And sometimes it works out, and sometimes it falls flat, but that's okay if it does. And as long as you're doing that, and then you're getting out there and you're promoting it, and you're seeing if it's something that you could really see yourself doing for a while, that's what we're really trying to get across. I think that, I know that we have a couple of questions that people want to ask, but before that, would you recommend anybody that's watching take a gap year? And if yes, why?
Yeah, I'll start it off. Of course, there's a difference if you know what you want to do, and that might involve school. Obviously, you might have to go that route, but if you are unsure, or even if you're just honestly, if you're questioning it at all, I would just do it. It's just room to think, room to grow, room to we're 18. We are 18, most of us 18, 19. Just straight out of high school. It's hard to pick what you want to do with life. So yes, take a gap year. Yeah, go ahead.
Unless you want to be a lawyer, a doctor, an engineer, and you actually want to do that, not your parents telling you to do that. It's worth it getting a year and a chance to fail repeatedly and learn from it. And then also learn about how you learn. Because that's like going into college with that framework of this is how I learn and I understand that is going to revolutionize like how much you learn in college versus going into college with like, I have no idea how to handle this. Like I'm just going to take challenges the same way that I tried to do it in high school.
Yeah, I mean, one of the most backwards things that I've heard at my high school was that somebody told me that college is the place that you go to figure out what you want to do. And I was like, it's a pretty expensive way to figure out what you want to do.
Yeah.
And I just think it's, yeah, I mean, if you have any doubt in your mind about what you want to do, take a gap year. Like, college is not the place to do that. There's too many, I mean, people say they want to do that to figure out what they want to do. There's way too many distractions. You're going to party for 4 years and then at the end just kind of end up with a communications degree, which is, let's be honest, pretty useless. So yeah, take a gap year, figure out what you want to do, and then if you need to go to college, go kill it and become awesome. If you don't, like me in game design, like anyone who wants to be a writer, English majors, stop. Just go write and write and write. Yeah, comedians, stop. Just write. Tell jokes. That's how you do it, I think. But yeah, take a gap year for sure.
Awesome. Thanks. Do we have any? So I know we only have a few more minutes left, but do we have any questions that anybody has for us that we can answer?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. What age range are the people who contact you and go through the program?
Cool. So most of the people that contact us are between the ages of 18 and 25. Like we mentioned, we think that this is a really good option for people that are coming right out of high school, but that doesn't mean that after you have a couple of years of work experience, you can't find taking a year off for yourself. For me personally, after both of my long-term jobs that I've had since graduation, I've taken between 3 and 6 months off, and during that time, I've just kind of explored to see what it is I want to do, and it's an invaluable experience.
And then a second question is UnCollege open to giving tours of the San Francisco campus?
Interesting. So I think what you can do is you can email us. You can go to our website. We have a contact form, and you can see if you can set up a time. We're in and out all the time while we're here, especially while we're in session. But if we're around, we'd love to show you around.
And then a third question is, how do UnCollege learners put together their plans through self-directed learning?
Cool. I think that this is a great question for the fellows. So it's something that we've definitely started to really work on and hone in on. But you guys all have very different paths. We are very much we're an agnostic program. So you can come here and you can learn anything that you want to learn. It's all about you self-directing your learning. So I think Will touched on it a little bit earlier, and he started to set his own goals, but then we have a mentor that we're able to assign to you that's able to get rid of a lot of that white noise and able to give you a prescribed path that you can follow. But maybe one of you can take a shot at just kind of what your plan was and how do you go about finding those resources and then giving them to your coach to hold you accountable.
Yeah, I'll just take a stab at it. I mean, I didn't know what I wanted to do really at all. Video production was one of my things I wanted to do in the beginning, but that was like midweek. I was like, maybe I'll try this. So I think it just goes off of like trial and error with and everyone's different with how they learn. And I think that like with me, definitely I can't read a book and like process everything and be like, okay, I got it, I'm good. It's more of like I had to try that first, and maybe I had to try like going to a lecture, maybe I had to try like doing like a yoga thing, I don't know, like a kinesthetic way of learning. And then it kind of just came to me where I just need to communicate with people. So it all depends. It's all trial and error. It's how I learned and how I learned to teach myself. And,
yeah. I gotta say that's the best thing about doing this is it's tailored to exactly your learning style. Even if you don't know your learning style, you figure it out, and that's invaluable. It's really awesome. The coaches are great at sort of cutting through all the BS and getting to kind of what matters when it comes to learning.
So they do, like, coaches let you pick, but they're also, like, they know when you're bullshitting, right? So this is not a program where you're allowed to bullshit. This is not for people who are going to slack. Like, the structure of the learning, like, the way that it's built is you pick a direction, you start working in it, and then you check in. Like there's check-in points, and then if that direction is not working out for you, you tailor it, you change it a little bit, right? Obviously, there's like a red flag if you're changing it a lot all the time. But with a lot of people, will go in and like every check-in, they'll tailor it just a little bit, and by the end of it, you're a lot clearer from what you started out with.
Yeah, and with the coaches too, like they give you guidance and where to look to learn how to learn. Like you're not on your own there, and it's not just the coaches, it's the staff, it's the other students.
Yeah.
And I would say one thing that's also cool is just like everyone that is even like staff of this program has really awesome skills. Like our RA Nick is like an amazing programmer and has so much knowledge and is just sort of like sharing that with all of us, and he's completely cool with just helping out whenever, and that's awesome. Also, I'd like to go on record saying that not all English majors are created equal. Sorry if I offended anyone, but like most state college English programs are silly. There's some great liberal arts schools though.
Berkeley's literature program.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Any other questions? Thank you for that disclaimer.
Those are the majority of the questions,
Cool.
other than the ones we covered earlier.
Great. So thank you everybody for taking the time today to kind of sit and listen to us. Again, if you have any other questions, feel free to write them on the Facebook wall and we'll get back to you. And I think this is a pretty successful first step. I don't think that we went down once at a Facebook Live event. So here we go. Good job. Thanks everybody. Have a great rest of your day. All right.